What do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna save the fucking day.
Next up, we're going to bow down before the shrine of Nicolas Cage.
But before we do that, make sure you subscribe to the page, like this video, click that bell to get notified for future videos, leave us a comment, and praise the Cage.
Let's give Nicolas Cage some high praise.
That's high praise.
He's an icon. He's done a lot of crazy good stuff, you know, and, you know, we kind of talked a lot about Bruce Willis and his method for choosing films. And, you know, you had kind of said that Nicolas Cage is in on his fame and notoriety.
He understood it right away.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that I feel like has stuck more and more as he's gone on and on. And I think I even mentioned the interview I read where he was talking about how he's not an actor, he's a thespian, because actor implies that you are sort of, you know, pretending to be something, whereas thespian is you're drawing it from your inner self and you're becoming something because of some prior experience that you've had.
I'm beginning to think that that's getting in the way of my being effective.
I appreciated that. Like when he said that, I feel like...
You know who else is like that?
I understood him a little bit more, I think.
You know who else is like that? Samuel L. Jackson.
Once again, please.
You pull up his filmography, you're going to find a bunch of shit, but you're also going to find, like, goddamn, you are incredible.
As you mentioned, Nicolas Cage has been in a lot of stuff, and there's absolutely no way to go through his entire catalog without spending 10 hours talking about each thing. But the first movie that I saw with Nicolas Cage, and I guess still to this day is my favorite thing that I've ever seen him in, is Raising Arizona.
Well, this whole thing is just who knows who. And then over here you have favoritism.
It was such an original, interesting, iconic character and such a great movie to boot. But I mean, his portrayal of H.I. McDonough, the look, his vocabulary, you know, like, and I remember reading one of the Coen brothers that were like, we kind of wrote the script for him as a person that reads a lot of magazines and newspapers, but doesn't understand like the words that are being used, but like repeats them sort of.
It's a perfect example of why he is a great thespian.
Right.
Could you picture anyone else in that role?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Not at all.
You know, that's what I'm saying.
His career starting at these Valley Girl, Moonstruck, Raising Arizona, starting here and ending up where it's at, he has taken such a wild turn because you wouldn't expect starting at Raising Arizona that he would be, you know, holding up the unbearable weight of massive talent at this point.
I
don't know. Could you have predicted that? I don't know.
No, but I can't predict any of his trajectory. Keep going.
Yeah,
his trajectory is weird as hell. His whole filmography is a journey.
It is.
Anyone out there doesn't know, his real last name is Coppola.
Well, it's a combination of Luke Cage from Marvel Comics, it was a character I liked, also named Power Man, and John Cage, the avant-garde composer. Speaks volumes about everything I've been up to ever since.
But you saw Wild at Heart, which is one that I have not seen. What's your take on Wild at Heart?
It's awesome, man. It's David Lynch, but it's the kind of David Lynch where you can follow it.
Okay.
You know, you can watch it as a straightforward movie, but it's still weird as hell.
Staple.
Imagine David Lynch doing True Romance.
Absolutely not.
Willem Dafoe, Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Willem Dafoe's crazy in this movie. Watch it for him alone.
I've seen some pictures I think you showed me. He's like a little wild looking, right?
Yeah.
Red Rock West?
Another, man. This one went under the radar.
1993.
This is an awesome movie. Dennis Hopper, Lara Flynn Boyle.
And then in 1994, Nicolas Cage sets the world on fire with Guarding Tess.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
I really thought it was funny the way that they did that little monologue with Pedro Pascal in Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent about how him and his father bonded over Guarding Tess.
We disagreed about literally everything, my father and I, except for this movie. We both loved it.
I've never seen this horrible movie. From 1994 to 1995, Leaving Las Vegas. And this is the movie that he finally won an Oscar. After all these great films, he finally nailed it. Why did he win an Oscar for this one?
Maybe since there have been better portrayals, but I'd say if you had asked me in 1995, best portrayal of an alcoholic ever.
That's high praise.
But then it's funny that like he wins this Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas. Almost like right after it, he does a trilogy of just really silly movies, like over the top action movies. Like all of a sudden he's now an action star.
Yeah.
The Rock, Con Air, Face Off. Those three alone are just big, gigantic action movies that, again, watching Con Air back then, it was kind of a thrill. There's a lot of extra people in there too that make that movie really fun. And the movie is entertaining, but this is clearly a movie that you can also watch not as a serious action movie and just as a movie to laugh at because it's so damn over the top. And
That's
dumb.
why people still know it.
Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's the 90s Roadhouse.
His accent alone is worth a laugh every time he talks.
I'm gonna show you God does exist.
It's almost like he's winking at the camera, like he knows with his skullet, you know.
I was
He's
about to
like
say, his mullet is winking at the camera.
all of it, the whole thing.
The Rock, I could understand. I guess you had Sean Connery. Michael Bay wasn't seen as a joke quite yet. Bruckheimer's producing. You just won an Oscar. 1996. These movies were still respected.
They're hot.
in a
Yeah, let's
way.
do something cool.
Face Off, dude. It's John Woo. I mean, of course, why not work with John Woo? Even if this premise is silly as hell, you're working with John Woo. I get that.
And John Travolta.
You are so fucking pathetic.
Dude, Face Off is fun.
No, Face Off's awesome.
Dude,
I like Face Off.
Face Off is fun. We watched it not that long ago, and I hadn't seen it in years. And rewatching it was definitely a blast. Back then, you were thrilled by it, but
Yeah,
now it's
it's-
like you're laughing at it.
It's better than Con Air as a film.
Have you seen Con Air?
No.
Hooray for the sounds of fucking silence.
So then he tries to, dive into something new that he's going to sink his teeth into and really show off his acting chops. And he stars in 8mm. 8mm. Did you see 8mm, Russ?
I think I did, and I gave you this DVD like 20 years ago.
You did give me the DVD. From the writer of Seven, but instead of being directed by David Fincher, it's directed by Joel Schumacher. And it looks like a Joel Schumacher movie that's trying to take subject matter like Seven, but in a much more perverse manner because it has to do more with sexual violence and that kind of thing. So again, it just kind of ups the ante a little bit. But now you have it's in Joel Schumacher's hands,
Well,
and it just comes across as silly.
Joel Schumacher's known for gritty realism. Have you seen Batman and Robin?
My first thought would be a lot.
Bringing Out the Dead. Nicolas Cage, I read an article not that long ago and he was asked, what are your favorite movies you've ever done? This was one of the movies he said was one of his favorites that he had been in his top 3. What is your take?
It's the worst. Easily the worst of any Paul Schrader and Scorsese collaboration.
You're the fucking reason this country's going down the drain.
Was his
I will say
performance
the
notable?
trailer was badass where they used that Clash. I think it was Janie Jones, that Clash song they used in it. It's not like like I said, when I say it's the worst of Paul Schrader or Martin Scorsese, that's better than most people. It's just when you're in the hands of people like that are capable and have delivered these themes to you before in much more profound ways. It just kind of feels, it just feels like been there, done that.
Gone in 60 Seconds is the next thing that he did, which is another huge action movie, which I saw in the theater. I forgot his name was Memphis Reigns.
Why did you see that in the theater?
Time it took you to buy your ticket. 3.2 minutes. Time it took you to get your popcorn. 2.5 minutes. Time it took them
Oh, let's go.
to steal your car. 60 seconds.
Dude, I don't know. It's like same thing with like Pitch Black. 2000s was just like people were going to the movies, let's go to the movies. I saw a lot
That's
of
true.
movies in the theater in the 2000s for sure.
Yeah.
And I've had fun with it. Angelina Jolie, him, those cars were cool. His performance was, I'd have to go back and see it to say if it was good or not. But I remember having fun with this movie. What about 2005's Lord of War, where he was also producer?
Lord of War was a good movie.
Really? Okay.
Why is that so
I don't know. Because there hasn't been one yet in a while that you were like, yeah, that was a good movie.
Well,
Until now.
we're skipping over some big ones. I mean, Wind Talkers is incredible.
You mean Wind Talkers? The 2002 masterpiece where he plays Joe Enders?
You know what Wind Talkers I'm talking about.
I don't really know what you're talking about.
I think starting around, maybe it's after he got out of the Wicker Man remake and he got out of Ghost Rider, his acting career sort of took an interesting like turn in like 2000, like the late 2000s. And Bad Lieutenant I never saw. Is that a sequel to the Harvey Keitel?
It's a sequel, but it has nothing to do with, it's basically just the title. It works. His energy worked. Honestly, this is a movie where if he wasn't over the top and crazy, it wouldn't work.
Why wouldn't I be?
Why this movie even exists is wild. Like, how many people out there, oh, we need Bad Lieutenant too.
Yeah.
Easy, because I'm not easy to eat.
So I watched Gone in 60 Seconds in 2000. The next movie of Nicolas Cage's that I watched was Kick-Ass in 2010. So I hadn't hung out with Nicolas Cage for 10 years, and I really liked him a lot in Kick-Ass.
You're gonna be fine, baby doll.
I did too.
I mean, I thought that movie was pretty cool, and his character in it was probably one of the best parts.
And look, so we just spoke about Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call. That was 2009. Now we're talking about Kick-Ass 2010. I agree with you 100%. But in Bad Lieutenant, his ultimate meta, crazy, zany Nicolas Cage persona is what made it work. I bet you like him in Kick-Ass for the same reason I do. He grounded it.
Yeah.
He's like the main grounded character in that whole movie. And that's what I'm trying. This man is versatile. And I've always defended him because of this.
You know, Mandy was a movie that when that was announced, there was so much hype around that as being some, you know, crazy, wild, like Nicolas Cage fest where you're going to get some turned up to 11 Nicolas Cage with some insane, ethereal visuals and all this kind of stuff. And I saw that movie based on the hype alone and the trailer and everything else. This was now in 2018. So we kind of passed over a lot of his VOD career. Why do you think this one stood out so much versus some of the other ones that maybe people mocked, whereas this one wasn't being mocked?
It's stylish. It played directly to a specific audience. The type of audience they were going after ate it up.
This was a movie that I just did not care for that much. I had a lot of problems with this movie, and it could have been nitpicks. I'm not sure. This movie just seemed overblown or overhyped or something. Nicolas Cage does his job. He's chewing through the material.
He wasn't the problem in it for me. To me, Nicolas Cage is more interesting when he is the outlier, where I feel like in these universes, everything's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just like you're just part of the weird squad now,
right.
dude. Your world is Nicolas Cage now.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's as interesting to me.
I agree. It's just like that 2021 Willy's Wonderland where some like amusement park comes to life and like all the rides and all the little marionettes or whatever are all just trying to kill him. Like you said, like this just movie is nuts. Like you don't stand out. In that same year, Pig, which again, it went from some batshit crazy movie to Academy Award winning Nicolas Cage credit on the damn trailer. It's like, it's so interesting that, you know, like you said, he's versatile. He's got range. He can jump from one movie that's nuts into one movie that's serious. And this is a movie that I really enjoyed because it was so subdued and it was just acting. It was calm. It wasn't over the top Nicolas Cage screaming and getting revenge and all this stuff. There was moments in the trailer and I feel like moments in the movie where they try to make you think that's what's going to happen, but it never does. And I really like this movie for that. You saw this or no?
No, I did not.
Dude,
I was interested in seeing it.
It's 90 minutes. You know, it's definitely a really meditative sort of piece on family and loss and all this kind of stuff that I feel like it has a really great heart. It has a really great resolution. I think in general, it was a really good movie for him. And he named that as one of his favorites he's ever been in. Right after that, 2022, here we are, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which we just talked about, kind of being disappointed by. I guess I thought that this movie was not going to be about a take on himself as much as it was just going to be about him. And when I watched this, I was like, I'm going to get Nicolas Cage and whatever storyline they're going to give to him. Sure, there's going to be something written, but how he was acting, it was a parody of himself.
What a way to fucking go.
So Nicolas Cage, I don't know what to say. I love you. And he's about to be Count Dracula in a movie called Renfield, which I'm very interested to see, at least the trailer for this thing, to see what he's doing as Count Dracula. Could you imagine? I can't imagine.
I'm a messenger of God.